Hello SS2 Commerce students, you're welcome to class. In today's lesson, we are going to continue with the topic that we began during the last week's topic, which is communication. In today's lesson, we are going to look at the traditional means of communication, and we are also going to examine the barriers to effective communication. Let's go. By traditional means of communication. During the olden days, our forefathers used to communicate using some tools, equipment, means of communication. They include one, wooden or talking drums. Back in those days, people use or villages use wooden drums to pass messages to people within a community. The community head can use wooden drums to assemble people within an area. It can be used for traditional festivals. It can be used as a means of communicating coded information to the members of the public. Number two, town criers. Town criers refers to individuals who are mostly messengers of the king that go around to pass information that are important or of emergency from the palace. Most times, if urgent information is to be passed, a town crier is sent to announce the information to the members of the community. So, town criers. Number three, you have metal gong. Now, metal gong refers to a metal that is beaten. It's an hollow metal. It has holes within it, and it is beaten to it is beaten with another metal actually to inform members of the public or members of the community of rising matters or information. Um, it is used mostly by the town criers. It's used mostly by the town criers when they are about to give sensitive information. Palm fronts. Palm fronts are used to either signify war or peace, basically. Now, in the olden days community, when palm fronts are kept in front of an individual's property, that means that the property is evil and it needs to be either consecrated and destroyed, or the property needs to be repaired. For example, if you observe, you see that most vehicles that get spoiled on the road, they use palm front, they put palm front in front of it to show that this vehicle is damaged and it needs to be repaired. So mostly they use palm front to signify matters of either peace or war. Also, palm front is also being used to signify the end of war, or when somebody is subdued and he surrenders. So they use palm front to show a sign of surrendering to a war that has taken place. Smoke signals. Smoke signals are are mostly used in the olden days community to show presence of some individuals within a particular place. For example, if you have the presence of mostly thieves within an area, they use smoke signals to show that hunters or vigilantes are within, or security personnel are within a particular area. So a smoke signal is being used to show presence of people uh, within an area, and it's also a means of communication during the traditional period. Then you have gun blast. Gun blast is used in traditional festivals and probably maybe a burial ceremony, then a ceremonial rite, uh, and other forms of ceremonies. They use gun blast at those kind of occasions to either signify the passing of life or the commencement of a particular festival in a community. Other forms of traditional means of communication include whistles. They use whistles to either during festivals too, and so on. Then you have bells. You have a bell is used by town criers also. Then you have trumpets. Trumpets is blown to either appraise the king, or to praise the king or the prince, or even the members of the community. And you also have flutes. It's also used for the same purposes as trumpets. Then we go to barriers of effective communication. The barriers of effective communication refers to those factors that hinder effective communication between individuals. And those barriers include: one, you have physical barriers. That includes those physical factors that affect effective communication. Example includes your noise, mechanical failure, you have noise from generator, you have smoke, you have distance can also be a factor. Number two, language barrier. This one is well known. Maybe as a result of accents of individual, unfamiliar accent, or the use of jargons. When somebody is talking, they are talking and they are using languages that are not peculiar or that are not lingua franca, so languages that cannot be understood by the generality of the public. That is also a form of barrier to communication. So when speaking, we need to use clear and understandable languages. Number three is defective means of communication. Our means of communication may be the phone, or um, um, any means through which we are communicating might be defective or spoiled, and it can affect effective communication. You have social psychological barriers, like an individual's state of mind or his thought might not be well gathered at the particular time, so it affects his ability to either communicate or receive the information. Examples of social psychological factors include lack of interest, lack of attention, distraction or irrelevance of the topic to the individual. So those are those psychological factors that can affect effective communication. Then the last one is human disabilities. Some people can have speech disorders or hearing disorders that will affect their ability to communicate effectively. So those are the barriers to effective communication. I said we have physical barriers, language barriers, poor or defective means of communication. You have social psychological barriers, and lastly you have human disabilities. So we've come to the end of the topic. If you have questions, please post in the question and answer section, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.